But yes, we have Celtics news. Dan Shaughnessy, in his kind of picked up pieces column this morning. There are a lot of pieces to get to in this one. Dan Shaughnessy with the headline, "Who will be the next to own the Celtics? How long it will take, and other thoughts." Burying the lead on that, the headline writer over at the Globe, Shaughnessy has all the details, apparently, behind who actually really owns the Boston Celtics. Listen to this, Paul. "In conversations with some sources close to the situation, I've come away convinced that soon-to-be 90-year-old H. Irving Grousbeck is the one driving the sale, and that the 63-year-old son, Wick, one of four children of Irving Grousbeck, managing partner, governor, and CEO of the Celtics, and always identified as the team's owner, actually owns a relatively small stake in the franchise. H. Irving Grousbeck, still teaching at Stanford Business School, has been the money behind the group since the beginning, and there's every indication that the billionaire, rarely seen at Celtics games, is motivating this sale in an attempt to get his affairs in order. I emailed the elder Grousbeck late Wednesday requesting comment on my assertions, and he responded Thursday with a polite no comment." Listen to this. Shaughnessy, "When I texted Wick with, quote, 'You okay if I say your personal stake in the team is less than 2%? He answered, quote, 'We hold as a family, all unified. We are a family, and I have a Celtics family, is my comment. Thanks.' End of comment from Wick Grousbeck. According to Dan Shaughnessy, and Wick Grousbeck did not deny it, Wick Grousbeck owns 2% of the Boston Celtics. Wow.
That's the part that really jumps off the page for me, because I think that the stuff about the father, Irv being more of the driving forces for the sale in the first place, I think has sort of been certainly talked about a lot this week since the news of the pending sale first broke. So I wasn't overly surprised to hear that was really where the money came from, but that Wick would have individually such a small stake was a little surprising to me. I didn't realize it was that small.
For the last 20 years, Wick has been the public face of the franchise. He has been considered the owner of the Boston Celtics.
And tremendous.
And he's been great.
The whole ownership group for that team in that time has been absolutely everything you would want in an ownership group.
And that's why Monday's news was such bad news for Celtics fans. I mean, the Grousbecks, and, you can't necessarily just say Wick now. The Grousbeck family has done everything you possibly could want as fans of a team. They have been committed. They have spent a lot of money. They have done just about everything right. Doesn't mean that everything has always led to success. No. They won 2 titles over the course of, 22 years. So it hasn't been perfect, but all you can ask for as a fan is for an owner to be committed, and for an owner to spend money, and for an owner to want to win. And that's all they've wanted to do. You can say you want to win, but it turns out, apparently the money the Patriots are spending is on Paul Perillo's salary to send your kid to private high school for the last, 6 years, he said? 6 years? The 6-year plan?
That's why I come in on holiday Fridays for fill-in work. Yeah, I get that Patriots.com money just rolling in.
But the Patriots obviously have not been as committed to winning as we would like them to be, particularly over the last 5 years. They're not spending enough money on their football team. I've never been able to doubt. You can never question the Celtics' commitment to winning based on the amount of money that they've spent.
Yeah, like we're talking about the Red Sox a lot right now because they've played well, and we're talking about will they commit, and will they go out and go the extra mile to add some pieces to a team that has played really well over the last 3 weeks, and see if they can actually put them over the hump. Will they spend the money? Will they make that commitment? We've never asked that question with the Celtics in the time that I can remember. It's 2 titles, it's 2 other trips to the finals, it's consistent deep runs in the playoffs, and never once in that time did I say, if they had just done X at the deadline or been willing to spend X over the cap and hit a tax threshold that they were unwilling to pay. Never once did I say that, with Wick and Pags involved with the Celtics. So again, I don't really think there's anything you could argue with about their ownership.
Yeah, and now it's going to come to an end, and I think now we understand why. The whole estate planning thing, which, I heard on Monday, and I said, all right, come on, really? Makes a lot more sense now. Irv Grousbeck's 90 years old. He's got 4 kids. Wick only owns 2% in the team. This is, I'm taking care of all 4 of my kids. You're getting, the proceeds, we're going to divvy it up 4 ways or whatever it is.
Right.
This makes a hell of a lot more sense than what we knew on Monday. And listen, I mean, I think you and I both knew that Irv Grousbeck was involved in this thing, and we figured he was the money behind some of it, but he's the money behind all of it. I mean, Wick owns essentially a sliver. He owns a sliver of the team, 2%.
Yeah, and then somewhere in here, I think Shaughnessy credits The Athletic for indicating that Pags might be somewhere around 8% or a little more than 8%, or that he recently bought from one of the other minority owners. So, yeah, this is Irv. It's Irv Grousbeck. And which is fine. And I found it interesting. I saw something, I think, yesterday about, Golden State not being worth today what they once were.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the highest valuation for an NBA franchise is Golden State.
Yes.
And it's not hard to figure out why that valuation might be dropping. They're doing all this. They have done what the Celtics are entering into right now. Whereas consistently paying to keep that roster together, going over into those different thresholds. So there's bills to be paid, and that's where the Celtics are going now. Obviously, the Tatum contract puts them, with Jaylen Brown. They're going to be in that second apron, Matt, for a while. And I know that's great. That's what we want. As fans, we're like, it's not our money. That's what we want our owners to do, be committed. But at the same time, those have to be tough checks to write. And I don't know what the new TV deal is going to be for the NBA and how much more they're going to be able to make up the difference. But it certainly seems like there's a reasonable possibility that they're sort of operating at a loss with these bills coming. So I can understand that the elder Grousbeck is saying, it might be time to cut the cord now, while that valuation is still what was it, $4.7 billion, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and they'll probably get more than that. I mean, they'll probably get 5,
right?
At least 5 for a team that does not own their building. No, I don't. I said on Tuesday, I don't begrudge Wick for selling at this point. It's good business. What we've learned now is it's not really Wick selling. It's his dad. So I mean, listen,
you're absolutely right.
It's terrible news. It's bad news if you're a Celtics fan. I don't begrudge the man one bit. I mean, the team is at the height of its value. They don't own their building. The bill is coming due. You're better off having somebody else pay the bill. Always, Paul. Always in life, you're better off having somebody pay the bill, and that's what Irv Grousbeck's going to do. I mean, this is why he's teaching at Stanford Business School. He knows how to make these deals. It's just bad news for Celtics fans that you're losing a family that has obviously been committed. And listen, say what you will about the fact that Wick didn't actually own the team, as we're finding out today. Irv Grousbeck let him run the team. He was the money behind it, but he let Wick run it, and Wick did a really good job. And Irv kind of stayed out of the way, which is really all you can ever ask for from an owner. Spend a whole bunch of money and stay out of the way and let other people run the thing. I mean, this is the model. The Celtics are the model. They are the model of great ownership in sports, and that's about to go out the door.
Yeah, and you just have to hope that maybe somehow Pags, because obviously the way he does things has worked. He's the one that, sort of on the basketball side with Danny Ainge and all that. So that's what you have to hope for, is maybe Pags somehow finds a way to get enough and stay involved, and they can continue with the same kind of model.
So Shaughnessy writes about Pags. This leads us to Steve Pagliuca, often identified as co-owner of the Celtics. Pags made his money at Bain Capital and has been Wick Grousbeck's wingman since the group bought the team. Pags is the one who had the idea to hire Danny Ainge, who wound up being the genius to acquire Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo and the 2008 champs, then Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Brad Stevens, and Joe Mazzulla. It certainly sounds like Pags means business, Shaughnessy writes in regards to Pags' comments that he's interested in buying the team. According to The Athletic, Pagliuca bought up to an 8% stake in the team from a Celtics minority investor in 2020. He's also the most hoops-savvy member of the group, having played freshman ball at Duke. When I texted him for comment Thursday, Pagliuca texted back with, quote, "I'm under NDA at this point, so I can't talk. Sorry." You better hope it's Pags. We better hope it's Pags as Celtics fans. Here's the good news. He owns, we don't know what a stake is, but at least 8%. Obviously more because he bought
existing shares. Yeah.
He knew this was going in this direction. He knew that Wick wasn't actually the money behind the team. He knew that Wick only had 2%, so he started to accumulate, more stake in the team. The hope is that he's accumulated enough to fight off the Jeff Bezoses of the world, the really deep pockets who are going to come in and try and buy the majority stake in the team, because Pags doesn't have to buy as much into the Celtics to assume control of the Celtics. He needs to get a group around him to be minority investors in the team, but he now needs to buy a smaller stake. That's the hope right there. Like, if you're a Celtics fan, and it sounds like you feel the same way, Paul.
Yeah, status quo.
Status quo
what you're
is
looking for.
And this is as close to status quo as you can get. So your thoughts on the sale of the Celtics? How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling knowing that it turns out that Wick really actually isn't the owner of the Celtics, as we found out this morning? Fascinating stuff from Dan Shaughnessy in the Globe.